skating is much more than just doing tricks. And a perfect example is when you go to a spot that offers much more than just the spot itself, right? Usually we think about going places, you know, whether it's skate parks, street spots, or flat ground, that are gonna help us in progressing with the tricks, but not many times are we thinking about how it's gonna benefit us outside of the tricks, right? And so I think something super underrated and that isn't talked about that helps people progress whether or not they are conscious about it or not is choosing spots that are gonna allow them to to regulate their stress levels or just help them feel how do I say this, like help them feel where they're able to be a bit more fluid instead of tense, right? So the challenge with street skating is that you're doing things and you're getting yourself in a fluid position, hopefully, right, not all the time, but getting yourself in a fluid state, in a flow state where you can land tricks amongst the chaos, right? But that isn't sustainable, right? If you do that, if you try to do that every day, you're either gonna go mad, you're gonna burn out, but at the end of the day, you're gonna need to recover. And so for that reason, or you know, just giving you that so you can understand it a bit more, for those reasons, it's important that you understand where your spots are that are gonna allow you to, in a way, rest and recover, even though you might want to skate. And so for me, one of those spots is, you know, this spot right here where there's a lot of little mani pads. That's the way I describe them. Other people describe them as lily pads. But point is, it's not just the spot itself that is cool and where I like to skate, but it's also, you know, very like a good sunset area. It has a good amount of green, right? And it's not too bright for my eyes. You know, one thing that doesn't really help the piece or help me lean into that peace and fluidity is when the train passes by, but that's tolerable because it's not, you know, so constant, right? It also depends what time of day you're coming and what day of the week, but for the most part, this is a very relaxing park to be in, and it allows me to really practice, you know, really experience what being in a flow state means, right? It gives me the opportunity to get into that state a bit quicker. So I encourage you to do your best in finding these spots where you're not only thinking about, you know, spots that are going to help you progress in tricks, but also help you manage the natural stresses that skateboarding brings you, right? It's very taxing physically and mentally, but it doesn't mean that every time you do it, you should feel like you're stressing out, right? Or getting frustrated. There should be this I guess balance is the simple way to say it, but this is it homeostasis? Hormesis? Oh my god, not me trying to use a big word and I can't. Homeostasis. You're trying to find this homeostasis where you can take in things that might be stressing you out. For example, something as, imagine it's kind of windy and it's kind of cold. Okay, can I deal with that stress and have it work towards me, right? You know, this is probably a tangent, but when you get cold, you start shivering so that your body can produce energy, right? So it can heat up through the energy it's using. So instead of just being here shivering, can you just push around? Can you just do some ollies on the lily pads? Can you use it to get into this flow state as opposed to just letting it have you shiver? So in these sense, you want to with this in mind, you want to explore what spots are going to be optimal so that you can get into that flow state or practice getting into that flow state. This spot is a very good one because of the things I've mentioned, but a lot of the reason why it's also good is because there's no one here, right? There's people here, right? You see cars, but there's not so much traffic. I've been here where there's a bit more traffic, but for the most part, it just feels calm. And so a lot of people hesitate to go to calm places like this because they feel like they're disturbing the peace. But as long as, how do I say this? Like, as long as you're not really damaging things more than what skateboarding naturally damages, right? Or being such a, how do I say this? Like, nuisance. It's because people would say like skating is just a nuisance in itself, but you know, as long as you're not being like ignorant, right? I'd say with your skateboarding, where you're just like blasting. Like if you come in here to this place with a loudspeaker and, you know, a bottle of, you know what, like the bottles, and you're just chilling here, laying down, taking up unnecessary space, then, you know, you're probably being ignorant because I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that, actually.
You're like, I just don't like that.
No, it's not that I don't like it. It's more of just like, you're not like there's no progression in that. You know what I mean? And so what I'm trying to share, I'm asking you, you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to share is find these places so that you can use it as a means to get into a flow state, as a means to progress, as a means to be effective with your environment, you know, to coexist with it in a progressive way, not like doing what I mentioned is not helping the environment coexist in a beneficial way, right? And so let's say you're skating here, I'm skating here, and then there's a lady there that for whatever reason doesn't want to hear me skate. Then maybe I consider it, right? Because there's also because there's not only this spot, there's another spot on the other side, or there's some flat ground.
Maybe.
Huh?
It's funny the way you...
Well, maybe because...
I'll consider it.
Well, because what if they, like, are the ones destroying the peace by verbally assaulting you? You know, like, you just don't know these things, but I'm like, bringing up case scenarios. I'm trying to think of reasons on it, how to explain what I'm talking about, how this isn't productive. But what I'm trying to get at, and what I hope that everyone takes from this video, is you want to pick out these spots that are going to help you in a sense find an escape, but not just to find an escape, but also to give you the peace, not peace, what is the grace, like that opportunity to flourish. Because sometimes, and this is, I should have mentioned this earlier, but we get intimidated to go to skate parks because there's so much going on that we can't even take the first step. And so this, knowing where your spots are in this sense, is going to allow you to take the first step. And that's what's super valuable, and that's why, you know, and that's what I'm trying to say. It's much more than just tricks, because when you are going to places just with considering tricks, like technical progression, then you're missing out on so many other opportunities. Because yes, you can go to a cool spot like a Jaquan, for example. Do you know what Jaquan is?
Yeah.
Jaquan is a very popular plaza that you can only skate Sundays. And I go here and there, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is sometimes, you know, I go there with the intention to get a really cool trick. No, actually, I never think that. But to skate it, to get a trick. But the thing is, I don't consider how I'm going to feel, like, and if I'm going to be able to express myself the way I need to. Not the way I want to, right? The way you want to, maybe to do a cool trick for a video part, but the way you need to might just be to roll around, warm up, and do these things. So, look, maybe you still go to Jaquan, but you're able to go somewhere else where you're going to be able to get into that flow state, to be able to warm up so that you're prepared and tuned in. Is that dialed in? There we go. It's dialed in, so that when you go to Jaquan, you're a bit more, you're prepared. You know, you're ready. And so that's really what I wanted to share in this video. Make sure you're looking for spots that will help you flourish with your skating, and much more than just a technical aspect. You know, skating, we've heard a lot of times, like, skating is therapy, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. You gotta see how it's therapy, how it's a physical activity, how it's a means to be with community. And I'm just touching on one part, right? A means to get outside, enjoy the environment. Like, I can't tell you how grateful not to sound corny, but like, what's another word for grateful? Just like, how relaxed, like just at ease, or do you know what I'm saying? Grace? No, not grace. I'm using grace a lot.
Appreciative?
More of like how just, I just feel relaxed right now. And so earlier, for example, you know, there was a lot going on that I felt like I didn't want to skate. Or yeah, I didn't want to skate. Not that I felt, I didn't want to skate. And sometimes we think we go so many days, so many months not skating because the only options we're giving ourselves are those very hectic environments. But trust me, if you go to an environment that's going to be a bit more complementary. Oh my God. Complementary. A bit more complementary to your state, you know, your state of mind or your physical state. Whether it's smooth ground or just like a nice sunset, you know. Whatever it is, if you're able to know and pinpoint these spots, then you're going to give yourself the opportunity to actually skate a bit more than if compared to if you only knew 3 spots and most of the time they're very busy. Right? Does that make sense to you? Like, imagine, like, so for example, in the night, right? For a long time, I could only think of El Sereno to skateboard in the night. But as I started to think more about, okay, well, do I really need to go to El Sereno to skate and go all in that way? Or can I go somewhere else and just enjoy skateboarding in another environment, in something that's a bit more suitable for how I'm feeling that day or at that moment, you know? And then I started to think about, oh wait, I can skate the Little Tokyo Plaza. Like, sure, there's a lot of people, but I can put on headphones and I can, you know, listen to some music. There's a lot of flat, you know, it's very spacious. I can go to Pekin, you know, sometimes there's basketball players and things going on, so I have another option, which can be something like, what's another option around here? Well, if it's in the night, actually, there's probably not anything else. That's pretty the only 3 things I do.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it. But you see, there could be other options. I'm just saying, because me, I don't have a car, so I can't like go anywhere else. But the point is, there's other options. You know what I mean? Like there's Belvedere. If I had a car, I would go there. If I like the park, I would go there. I do like the park, just not as much. My point being, look for your spots, right? That might be the title of the video. What do you think?
Yeah.
Look for your spots.
And
look for your skate spots.
They allow you to.
That allow you to progress. There we go.
Because would you say they give you, like, changing up the scenery? Like you mentioned a lot of reset. You need a reset before you start again.
Reset.
It helps you reset, but because a way of resetting that's not too very easy to understand is like a visual. You also need a visual reset.
Yeah, I don't think I've mentioned that, but you can, like, it sounds weird, but you get inspiration, or I don't know if inspiration is the right word, but you get, like right now, I'm like, oh, I can move, you know. I'm not gonna try to do anything crazy, but I can do a little extra nose manual. Whereas if I was at, you know, let's say I only was able to skate the park I grew up skating, I probably wouldn't feel inclined to do another nose manual, right? But here, just simply because it's a different environment and I just feel a bit more at ease, it's something different visually, I'm able to do a little more iterations on my nose manuals, right? Because I might do one, it might not feel good, and I'll be like, okay, I'm good. Or I might do one and be like, I can get a little better. And then it just helps me progress in the sense where I'm not, you know, only progressing with the trick, but I'm also progressing with how it should feel.
It's like, would you say skating the same location, you unknowingly could end up getting numb and not realize what you have, and you just...
we get bored of if we're at some point things lose its like the specialty aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so, there's always ways to kind of always find the appreciation in it. There is always, but that's definitely takes practice, and a little more practice than if you were to just get to a different spot.
Like even the floor is different.
Yeah,
man.
even the floor is different. It's just different, so that's nice, right? You get curious, you ask questions, and yes, this also has to do with perspective, but which is why I'm sharing it with you guys. It's a perspective that will be helpful for many people to adopt. There's also the perspective of how to make your skate park, your local skate park, fun again, because I know for myself, I've experienced a lot of times where I go to a Hollenbeck, which is the park I grew up skating, and I just immediately feel like numb or like, just lazy. There's an art to, or a science, both of those combined, to knowing how to make the most of that situation, skating the park differently. So something very simple, an example would be, I would always skate the launch to launch out, do tricks out. And then I saw friends grinding the side of the launch, and then I saw friends doing tricks into the launch, over and then from the side. So those are all just different ways, a different approach to skating the launch, which is designed for the most part to launch out, right? And so my point is, you can do it regardless, right? If you have the opportunity to choose your spots. But what I'm focusing on in this video is how it can be beneficial to find your own spots. What time is it?
16:50.
Damn, I talk a lot, huh, guys? But yes, my dude's perspective is important, and I'm not saying this is your only option or this is like how to get pro or anything, because a lot of times we talk about how to progress in tricks or how to progress technically, but it's not just about the technical approach. It's about how do we sustain this in a healthy way. I don't even know if healthy is the right word. How do we sustain this, right? Generally, sustaining something means understanding where you're at so that you can either tone it down or ramp it up, or know how to keep it in the middle, right?
So it keeps flourishing.
So yeah, it can keep flourishing. But you can also use analogies of like if you burn vegetation, that might actually allow the soil to get nutrients so that it can even flourish even more, right? So you might feel like you burnt out, but use that burnout or that experience of burnout so that you can find your different spots, so that once you come back, you can flourish, instead of getting burnt out and being like, you know what, I don't want to skate anymore because it's frustrated and I'm over it and this and that. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. And so I think that's super valuable, because a lot of people, they are very limited in their mindset or their perspective on how they can go about, where they can go about skateboarding, how they can go about skateboarding. And what I'm talking about is where they can go skateboarding. And I just see a lot of people who might have enjoyed, or not enjoyed, but might have actually benefited a bit more from skateboarding, but they didn't give themselves the chance because they only saw one approach, right? An example could be, all your friends are skating stairs, but you can't skate stairs, so you just stop skating because you can't skate with your friends. You know what I mean? But instead of like, well, they can skate stairs, I can be with them, but I can also just skate the flat, and that'll be cool, or like film them, or how do I say this? Learn how to skate stairs, right? Not just quickly write yourself off. So point is, there's perspective. You could think about, where you're choosing to skate so that it can help you progress, and that's gonna allow you to see skateboarding from more of a holistic lens that allows you to sustain it a bit longer if that's something that you're looking for. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions or elaboration on kind of my perspective, what I'm sharing. Other than that, if you're interested in lessons, coaching, or what a one-on-one online would look like, you can hit me up at profe.carlos, or just simply ask the question here on YouTube. nonetheless, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm super hyped on how this channel is is growing, progressing in its own, and appreciate all the comments. I read all of them. It's kind of been hectic to get to all of them at the moment, but I am going to read all of them. And yeah, hopefully this just is able to be sustained itself. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.